A lot of pressure at the moment. Let's resume the writing habit tracking. AI and writing. All right, there's our little rough draft area, and I'm going to be using this time while nobody is on here to sync my new Fitbit. Okay. I don't need you to sync to that. I need you to pair new device. I guess I should be talking since this could be live on, I guess, Facebook and I guess YouTube. And I don't know if it's actually going to tell me whether or not it is live on those two things. I guess right here we have our viewer count for that, and I don't see any viewers, so we should be not under a lot of time pressure right now. Let's see here. Going live. Wait, hold on. We're going to go over to AI for Writers. Leave page. Am I the only one that thinks that Facebook has gotten noticeably worse? Like, I don't use it much anymore. I think just like most of the world, but I remember it being more user friendly than this. Like, I really get why they've had to fire like 30,000 people. Like, no wonder they're cleaning house. Let's see, we're gonna share this to your story. That wasn't actually what I wanted to do. Share now. It's just gonna share. It won't let me put, yeah, it won't let me put a message on it. Fantastic. Edit post. Live writing slash AI thing. Swing on by. No. Come say hi. Come say hi. Save. Okay. Blah. We're going to switch over to that. I do like that they added a button for switching like directly back and forth between these two things. Also, I do think I'm going to be a jerk and invite friends to like it at some point, but probably not just yet. You know what? No, let's create a post. What do you think? Let's add a photo or video. Add, cancel, add. There we go. Hold on here. Let's pick something I made for this. Post. Just for the fun of it. This has such a 1970s science fiction book cover feel to it. I just absolutely adore this image. All right, typing. I've got slightly better lighting in here now, so that when I go over to the dark side, I'm very distinctly green, as opposed to just kind of green. Uh, embracing the dark AI side of things, my robotic half. Um, Obviously, I've got the stream up on a second screen here, which means I spend a lot of time looking over to the right, which probably isn't the most engaging thing, but whatever, I'm new to this. Hmm. Give me a second here. I have to. I am doing an stream. Enjoy your Ted Lasso marathon. And yeah, just for better or worse, I will periodically, like whenever she contacts me, take time out of whatever I'm doing here to talk to my girlfriend because I adore her and I care more about giving her my time than random strangers on the internet. You can hate me for that if you want. Giant tea mug, which if tonight is anything like last night, I'm going to need every last drop of. Let's see. I'm also trying to sync a new that's all right. Live 603. Everybody I see. I have downloaded the Fitbit app for my new Fitbit, but I had an old Fitbit about a million years and a lifetime ago. And um, set up a device. There we go. You're sitting here like, oh yeah, I'm totally gonna learn a lot about AI from a guy that can't turn a Fitbit on, but that's okay. So one of the things that came up last night when I was talking with my only commenter and only follower, the awesome Orion, who I don't know personally, it was just someone that showed up and made a whole bunch of awesome comments. One of the things we talked about was whether it would be interesting to interview the AI a little bit as part of this book, which I think would be great because where are all my old chats, ChatGPT? You're scaring me here. History is temporarily unavailable. Well, that's going to be interesting. But in any case, the AI did a really, really good job, really, really good job of learning and imitating my writing style, which is not actually easy to do for a computer, I would have thought. I am a professional writer with a science background, so and I work in an industry that lets me continuously test the copy that I'm writing in a way that has made me a very, whatever else, I mean, everybody's writing's got flaws, but a very concise writer. I'm good at getting people, basically, my job is to get people to do what I want them to do using the fewest words possible. And I am, partly because of my scientific background and my understanding of how testing works and my access to testing, really quite good at that job. But I was really impressed by the way, basically, let's get you caught up here in case you're just tuning in. I gave the AI some basic instructions and some straight speech to text copy and had it edit it for me, and it came back with something that was incredibly generic and very high school essay esque. And then I edited what it gave me, and I said, all right, great job, but do it like this next time. And it wasn't like perfect, but it was vastly, vastly better than I was expecting and caught on to it very much sooner than a human would. I mean, much faster than I would have, and I'm the one who wrote it, so that's pretty impressive. Um, let's see here. Well, since the history's gone, we're going to do something, and this is actually a strength of AI that I hadn't really considered or thought about. But one of the most frustrating things that can happen to you as a writer is all of your work that you've gotten done through glitch or carelessness vanishes. And that means a lot of work and really boring work because you've already done the fun part, the thinking, the creativity, and now you just have to do the boring part, which is stacking the words into sentences all over again. And that's pretty damn tedious. But here, I think we can just start right back where we were with a minor improvement. Oh, hey, one viewer. Welcome to the stream. Uh, Hopefully, there will be more. But in any case, we are trying to use ChatGPT to write a book on AI. If you aren't caught up on this, we made some progress last night in sort of the test run. Right now, all the history is gone, but we're going to demonstrate one of the actual major benefits of using AI, which is I think we can pretty much duplicate all the work I did yesterday inside of about 5 minutes here. We're going to have to retrain the AI to write the way I want it to write, and we're going to have it regenerate the outline, which as an extra bonus will be interesting to see how similar the outline is. All right, let's see here. Outline a 60,000 word book on how writers can use AI to improve their craft and productivity and what else? And the impact of AI on writers. Now, one thing that was really interesting last night was about 5 or 6 comments into this, ChatGPT started referring to itself as a writer. I think because it was picking up on my language, know, we writers, us writers, things that we are looking for. It actually picked up on that and started including it, which is pretty fair because it did a pretty good job here. All right, so let's see how it does. Not not knocking my socks off with that title. That's a you're gonna need like an extra page in the book just to finish the title. But let's see. Fundamentals of AI. One interesting thing about ChatGPT is it always thinks that AI, like explaining what AI is really important. And I don't think it is going to be to someone who is reading this book, right? So it doesn't have a great understanding of audience yet, but why would it? All right, let's see. We gotta give the approximate word count for each section. Re-outline. So the format of this is basically going to be me using ChatGPT for some aspects of it, maybe actually interviewing it a little bit. I think that could be interesting. The other thing I'm doing is I've been using Google Voice to Text, which is, I don't know if you happen to be a writer, but is an abysmal tool because, it makes a lot of mistakes. And I've found that every voice to text feature I've tried ever as a writer, it has too high of an error rate. Even things like dragon typing, it's nor it's 97 to 99% accurate, which is, if you write 100,000 words and you make 3,000 mistakes in 100,000 words, um, garbage, right? So it takes as long to you lose all the time you save by speaking in the follow-up editing. But I found ChatGPT to be incredible at editing. Uh, Even things like the complete lack of punctuation in paragraphs, it fixes pretty well. And it did a reasonably good job of learning how to use my voice early on. In fact, let's see. Not that. All right. So this was my favorite funny mistake. Um, but overall, it took something like this and it turned out something like this. And needed a little training to do that, but not nearly as much as I expected. Very, very interesting tool. I've also been kind of curious. We've had some interesting I had a really interesting conversation with another viewer that came in and was making a lot of comments, and we just sort of nerded out for like a straight hour about. We completely derailed the writing, and we were just talking about the potential of AI for all sorts of things. But one thing we thought was really interesting is it turns out originally ChatGPT it didn't know anything from the last 2 years. So having it estimate the impact of AI on writing could be not especially useful since most of the impact on AI or on writing by AI has happened in the last few months. But I remember asking for its opinion early on when it first launched about the Ukraine-Russia conflict, and of course it didn't know anything. But I asked it out of curiosity here whether it knew about the Ukraine-Russia conflict, and said, yes, I do. And it's like, okay, but how? How do you know about that? Because you're not supposed to know anything in the last 2 years. And it is learning based on the questions we ask it. So it's not just a database, it is gaining information every time we ask it a question and making inferences based on that questioning about the world itself, which I think is beyond fascinating and a little scary, but really, really very cool. All right. I'm kind of figuring out where we left off. We were following the outline it gave me yesterday because, of course, have it generate the outline. I'm going to be making changes as it goes forward. In fact, we can evaluate the current outline right now, just point for point. Um, 5,000 words explaining the emergence of AI and its potential for writers, waste of space, overview of the book's contents. That's a paragraph. If you're more than a paragraph in your overview in the intro, you're losing people. Generally speaking, no matter what you're writing, you can just, once you finish your first draft, doesn't matter if it's fiction, nonfiction, take the first chapter, delete it. You'll have a better book. Chapter 1, Fundamentals of AI and Natural Language Processing. Now, NLP is really interesting. I've been looking into it. It's confusing, and I say confusing as like a guy that majored in, medical microbiology with a biochemistry minor, like, not a not a newbie to sifting through scientific jargon or math, and it's still a pretty complicated concept. The overall surface, like the surface level, is pretty straightforward. But like when you're actually thinking about it, and you're like, okay, so what does that mean? Thoroughly confused. I will need to spend even more time figuring that out. Maybe we'll ask it here in a minute. I don't want to click away from this screen like I normally would. Like normally there's tabs over here with all your various conversations, but since that's offline right now, I don't want to risk uh, starting a new chat and losing this one quite yet. Overview of AI tools for editing. I don't like this outline. So let's see how it does with more advanced instructions here. Outline, focusing more. Creating an okay, I'm gonna give it something really generic here, and I'm gonna see what it does. Here's a revised outline with a focus on the immediate impacts of AI on writers. Okay, cool. So this is cool, because what we're seeing here is it's saying the AI revolution. Now this is a term that it picked up on yesterday too, as well as the rise. It started using, once it had seen my writing, it started using active verbs. By the way, if you have any questions or comments, just chime in. Um, but it started using active verbs and really front loading the sentences with actions as opposed to a much more passive sort of academic style dialogue, which the way we're trained to write in like academics and in school is spectacularly boring and not actually very well designed for engaging humans. Like one of the first things you need to learn how to do to become a good writer is forget, like you have to know all the rules, of course, but it's to forget a lot of the guideline side of things. You lose points for having things like paragraph, like transition, for forgetting things like transitions in your paragraphs in, English 101 type stuff. Whereas, of course, those are basically wasted space. Like a human brain generally does not need help getting from, like, it doesn't need a little reminder of what happened in paragraph 1 to get started on paragraph 2, nor does it need a little like preview of paragraph 1 to get into paragraph 2. People don't like that, and like I said, I have a job that lets me really dive into the numbers and see how my writing performs with a lot of people, like just huge, massive numbers of people. And I have seen over and over again that it has a massive negative impact on how engaged people are in what you're writing. Like, if you can cut it away, cut it away. Trust people to make the connections, even though as a group, people aren't great at that. You're still better off trusting them for the most part. Let's see, ethical considerations of using AI in writing and editing. That only gets one bullet point. I like that. How to use AI ethically and responsibly in your writing. That's actually something I'd considered like going over the ethical considerations, but I hadn't really considered a how-to section yet. So this is a case of the AI thinking of something that I love. This is fantastic. And is going to be really important and useful for any writers that are trying to do this. The future of AI and writing, 4,000 words. The latest trends and innovations in AI and writing. That's actually going to be a retread of stuff it outlined earlier. The future of AI powered writing and editing. Now I'm going to have it break this out into, and I already have a little bit, I was working on this yesterday, the near future, right? Because there are things that are happening now that you need to adapt to and take advantage of now. There are things that are going to be happening in the next 2 or 3 years. And then there's 5+ years out, which frankly, I don't know that there's any point in even trying to predict what anything plus 5 years out looks like. Certainly not past 10. I mean, 2033, who the hell knows what the creative space is going to look like, what AI is going to be capable of, uh, whether we're going to be relearning how to make stone tools, like, or, just what oaths we'll have to memorize to pledge allegiance to our new machine overlords. We'll see. A summary of the book's key takeaways and lessons. Oh, I like that. A call to action for writers to embrace the power of AI in their work. Um, hmm. One of the things I've been most entertained by, because in a lot of respects, ChatGPT is all over the place, but it is very pro AI. Even when I asked it to say pretty negative things about AI, it was like, well, some people are worried about blank, but here's why you don't really need to worry. Don't worry, human. It will be okay. In all honesty, though, as a professional writer, I don't find this particularly threatening. This is threatening if you kind of suck at your job, but if you are good at your job and are willing to learn how to do new things, this is going to be huge because this can take away a lot. AI in general is going to be able to take away a lot of what we do and make it easier. I'm really looking forward to it becoming reliable for nonfiction writing. Fiction's going to be a ways out. Like, I don't see this creating original sample dialogue that matches what you have in your head anytime soon as a fiction writer. But for nonfiction stuff, if it can get to a point where it can collate, cross-reference, and source information, it could be an absolute game changer for reporting. And like maybe a hard reset on what passes for reporting these days in most of the corporate journalism world. The fundamentals of AI and natural language processing. All right, you know what? Let's a short overview of how natural language processing works. Hmm. I can't type and think at the same time. I can't type and think and be on video at the same time, apparently. Designed for, we're considering the audience here. Like, who is our audience? College educated, but not necessarily with a technical background. Short to medium length overview. How to understand and interpret human language. Whew, that's hard enough if you're human. Complex field, let's make significant. So again, that whole first paragraph, we could almost completely, we could cut out. It's not doing what we need it to do. It's interesting. One of my favorite things I've seen so far is, and it makes sense because this is an AI that is learning from humans in real time. But it's been fascinating to see how a lot of the beginner mistakes that you see in humans uh, trickle down into this AI too. Like, and I'm curious to see how quickly we can change that. All right, how AI works currently. All right, so one of the best writing tips I can give you if you are just getting into it, not sure how it works, thinking about it, organization, organization, organization. You see what I'm doing here? Is I've got the outline here on the side and I'm kind of outlining as I go. You can outline in advance, you can outline as you go, but if you're working in any kind of professional environment, if you have deadlines, coworkers, even if, you're just working for editors and so on and so forth, like you're doing your own books, fiction, nonfiction, doesn't matter. If you can be organized, you will look, it takes almost no work and it will make you look greatly more like a professional. Because you do generate a lot of content as a writer. If you're a professional writer, you put a lot of words on a page in a given amount of time. Often you're jumping between projects too, at least if you're doing it for money, because you got to do what pays the bills. Now, yeah, just make sure that you're taking advantage of the outlining systems in whether you're working in Google Docs, whether you're working in Word, it doesn't matter. They all have really good, almost automated outlining systems that work off the heading system here. Use it. There's nothing that'll make you look more like you know what you're doing than just being able to pop back and forth and somebody will be like, oh, I had a question on this section. You're like, oh, over here, click. The impact of AI on writers? All right, let's review that. Where were we? Oh, yeah, how AI works currently. All right. Now let's see if I remember the hotkeys from last night. Was it Control Alt 0? Ha, it was. All right. So let's edit this. Natural language processing is a subfield of artificial intelligence. All right. Natural system under the hood, AI. All right, so at its core, so right here, a lot of times these sort of asides you can just get rid of, but occasionally they're worth keeping in there either to level set, to get people more concerned, or as in this case, to sort of create a pause, like a breath before. Oh, hey Ryan. It's going pretty good. I've had like one other viewer other than you, and they didn't stick around for very long, but I've been playing around with it. Right now, everything we worked on yesterday is just unavailable. So we're kind of starting over. That was an unexpected point of interest. Uh, like basically, an hour's worth of work that I would have had to redo if I was just doing it by myself. The AI, we got caught up in 2 minutes, give or take. These algorithms, right now, I'm kind of in the process of editing and then reteaching it the way we did yesterday, how to handle the AI, or how to handle the AI, how to handle the voice that I want it to have. So we'll see if it catches on as well this time. Like it'll be really interesting to see if it works twice. All right. I decided I needed a basic example of what natural language processing was. Right now we're editing that down to something that I think is clean. One of the key challenges. All right. These algorithms are trained on large amounts of text data, recognize patterns, predictions about the meaning of language. One of the key challenges of NLP is dealing with the inherent ambiguity of human language. That's a great sentence. Word can have multiple meanings. This is all stuff anybody who writes already knows, but that's okay. It's not bad to put in there. Right here, like this sentence, we're just going to front load it, like instead of like a qualifier, and then what NLP does, we're just going to change it to what NLP is doing and then why it does it. It's almost always to say the what before the why, because like nobody cares about the why until they know the what. But humans, we really like to explain the what. Sorry, we really like to explain the why before the what. It kind of harkens back to what I was doing, what I was saying about rhetorical questions yesterday being often a sign of like weak writing, or you haven't really thought things through if you need to ask rhetorical questions, because people should already be asking those questions automatically. Machine learning algorithms. All right. Where was I? NLP uses a variety of techniques, including machine learning, deep learning, and natural language understanding to, to overcome those challenges. Basically the same sentence, just swapped, but now we're saying here's what NLP does, and then when you read that, you think, okay, why does it do those things? Then immediately it answers the question that you thought of for yourself. So it's honestly, it's really like a human reward model. We queue you up to ask a question, and then as soon as you're curious, we give you the answer, which is a reward rather than something you have to slog through. All right, machine learning algorithms allow NLP models large amounts of data and make predictions about new text inputs, deep learning techniques like neural networks, put through multiple layers. Yeah, like this is where I've been kind of struggling with NLP. Like on the surface, it's really simple. And then when you get to this level, it's like, okay, but what does that mean? Like in a practical sense, what does this mean? NLP uses a variety of techniques including machine learning, deep learning, and natural language understanding to overcome these challenges. I don't really know. Deep learning techniques like neural networks enable more complex Language modeling by processing input data through multiple layers of computational nodes. What is a layer of computational nodes? Man, I would give money to like if I were actually working on Chat GPT, that would be like a little Easter egg I'd put in there. Like anybody asks that question, I just have the computer answer like, fuck if I know, man. How does your brain work, human? How did your meat gain sentience? I'm not asking you stupid questions. Why are you bothering me? Natural language understanding is another important component of NLP. It involves teaching computers to understand the meaning of text by identifying entities, relationships, and sentiment. Those terms seem really precise, which makes me think they are very important. For example, an NLP model, I like that it gave an example. An NLP model might be trained to recognize that a sentence like, I love the beach, expresses a positive sentiment towards the beach. Toward the beach. I like that. Obviously, we don't need to say overall. They were just here, they just read it, they know it's overall. It's a powerful technology with broad applications across a wide range of industries, not, not just writing. From chatbots and virtual assistants to automated language translation and sentiment analysis, NLP is helping make human machine interactions more natural and intuitive. That sounds like a line from, what does it remind me of? The Pip-Boy descriptions in the Fallout games. Just a little, just a little too sunny and positive. Oh man, get a drink here. All right, let's see. AI is a. All right, now we need to put in one of the dreaded transitions, and we're gonna make it a rhetorical question, just to break the rules I've already laid out for us. And writing as a discipline. Hmm, as a career. Okay. Let's see. All right, we're gonna here, block use. And I know it doesn't care about the all caps, but this is just for me to help keep track of instructions I've given the AI easily as I'm going, like, farther down the line when I'm scrolling up and down through this. And I'm curious, or I'm trying to remember where or when I gave it instructions. If they're in all caps, it's going to help me pick them out quickly. This overall tone when generating content, this thread, please. And why please? Because I want the computers, the rise of AI, when it happens, I want them to remember that I was polite. God damn, that is impressive. Absolutely. I'll keep this tone in mind as I generate content for you. Let's embrace the potential of AI and see where it takes us writers. See, it started. This is really fun because it's already started. Remember, yesterday it like started talking about itself as a writer, which is fair because it does do a lot of writing. So, I mean, it seems fair to me. But it started referring to itself as a writer partway through. It's done that again. And this is so cool. Let's embrace the potential of AI and see where it takes us writers. Very positive, very dynamic, very clean. Oh, that's interesting. So when you have just by virtue of you taking up a more human and conversational tone without asking it to do so also, it's responded by being more conversational. Like it matches your tone. Huh. Clever. What are we describing here? Describe the most pressing current impacts of AI on writing as a field and as a profession. Thanks. Thanks. All right, let's play around with that. Okay, that is really cool. I like. I find it interesting how much it likes the phrase "the rise of AI." The rise of AI. All right, we're going to tell it not to use numbered lists uh, as the next instruction when it finishes here. Increased efficiency, enhanced quality, expansion of writing applications. That's interesting. Ethical concerns. Didn't lead with ethical concerns. Overall, the impact of AI is complex and multifaceted. That is a sentence which means nothing. While it has the potential to significantly enhance the field and improve the work of writers, there are also ethical concerns that must be addressed. Rewrite, but not as a numbered list. Maintain a casual, informative style. Use active sentence structure where practical. Mm, didn't knock that one out of the park. AI has brought is not a good, engaging, active start to something. But we're going to take this, we're going to edit this one, and then we're going to, assuming it nailed it, we're going to edit it, we're going to feed it back in, and we're going to keep training this thing. All right. So I'm just going to speed read this real quick. And my eyes work quicker than my mouth. So we're going to see. Yeah, okay. That's close enough. The now. AI is already starting to have a. We're going to save that for later. We don't need to say on writing again. That's normal text. Is heading 2. Yeah, okay, cool. Control V, highlight it, and what was it? Control Alt 0. There we go. So as with humans, so with robots, just get rid of that first sentence. It doesn't need to be there. All right. For example, grammar check engine can help writers produce high quality. Higher quality, much faster than before, freeing up more time for creative work. It's also enhance. We're going to get rid of the can here. It's a qualifier that doesn't need to be there. The quality of written content by suggesting better word choices, improving sentence structure, and providing feedback on tone. Feedback on tone would be really interesting. Hold on. before we do anything else, I want to find out opinion on how the tone. I want to know what kind of feedback it gives on tone. Overall, the tone of this passage is optimistic and encouraging towards the potential of AI in writing. However, it could benefit from a bit more variation in sentence structure and a clearer organization of ideas. Additionally, using more vivid language and examples could help engage the reader. Now, this is interesting because these are almost the exact instructions that I gave it, right? From the original kind of dry copy. I was saying, here's what we need to do to fix this. So it is kind of interesting. Like, this is sort of, I would say this is sort of a potential weakness of the model, right? As it stands right now, is it's giving very good advice, which it hasn't followed so far. The truth is, technology is constantly changing. We must adapt to stay relevant, and as writers, we have the opportunity to take advantage of AI and free ourselves from the tedious mechanical aspects of writing. Love that. The tedious mechanical aspects of writing. Great sentence. Imagine being able to focus entirely on the creative process without worrying about typing or editing. That's the kind of productivity boost AI can offer. He also likes that sentence. So let's embrace the potential of AI. I'm curious as to how it's the rise of AI and embrace the potential of AI. Both pop up. All right, but yeah, more vivid language and examples could help engage the reader and make points more memorable. That's fantastic. This actually isn't an improvement. The rise of AI in writing has left many of us feeling a little uneasy. As writers, the idea of being replaced by machines can be unsettling. I don't think that's a stronger sentence. But I believe that AI is not a threat to our craft, but a powerful new tool that is getting into um, I would say qualified, but I would say stronger writing territory right there. Not enough so that I'm going to go back through things and change that. I just wanted to see how well it did what it was advertising itself as able to do here. So written content by suggesting better word choices can lead to more. Hopefully, hopefully, creating more engaging and effective content, ultimately improving the writer's reputation. Hmm, I like that. That's an underwhelming word. Like, am I really worried about my reputation? Maybe, but that isn't how artists ever talk about themselves, right? They don't care about reputation. That's sellout talk, man. Ultimately improving. Ultimately making us better writers. Additionally, AI has expanded the scope of writing beyond traditional channels like books and articles. I don't know if AI is responsible for that, but okay. For instance, AI powered chatbots can communicate. Hmm. Very true. Not something I think is going to be overwhelmingly interesting to our readers. The rise of AI in writing has created, see, there we go, the rise of AI. And I would say has created is a little ambitious. Like, this thing is just just getting started, is also up new career opportunities for writers. For some reason got a little more formal there. We're gonna chuck that back a little bit, add that, apostrophe in there, create the contraction. There's now anything that's growing is growing now. If it's ing, it's happening now by definition, right? Like that's how inging works. There's a growing demand for writers who can create content for chatbots and virtual assistants. Wow, that's gonna knock everybody's socks off because that's what you dream of when you become a writer. Is I can't wait to put my talents to use creating a better chatbot. However, the impact of AI on writing also raises ethical concerns. Some worry that AI tools will replace human writers, which they will. They will replace human writers. Not necessarily, they won't replace all human writers, but I mean, give this another year of development. I bet you I can put out 10 times as much writing as I do right now, which obviously is good for me because I will be the one who knows how to use it to put out that content. But if you're a writer that doesn't want to learn how to do this stuff, that puts you in a difficult position. In fact, we're going to add a little bit of that in here. All right, declining creativity, blah, blah, blah. How do we want to phrase that? Eliminate all writing jobs. It's a safe bet that it will professional writers don't who aren't motivated. How to use AI. How to aren't motivated to now let's make it sound more crafty. Master. Motivated to master working with AI. And then we'll take a little bit of the sting out of it because right now it's a little scary. We'll take a little bit of the sting out of it by saying, all right, so it's a little cheeky, a little bit of humor, not over the top, but it's a nod and a wink, right? It's saying, hey, yeah, this is going to affect people. You should be worried, but not if you're motivated to learn how AI works. Which of course, if you're reading this book, if you're reading this sentence right here, you by definition consider yourself one of those people, or you're at least aspiring to be. So overall, it should be a little positive nudge to sort of balance out the shameless fear mongering I'm doing right there. Additionally, there are concerns about the biases that can be built into AI algorithms. Ah, my nose itches so bad right now. You ever notice how your nose never itches except when you can't scratch it easily? Like, you're on video, or when I'm riding my motorcycle, I've got my helmet down. Inevitably, at some point, And not when I'm at a stoplight either. It'll be like as soon as I get on the freeway. Additionally, there are concerns. Um, we're just going to completely get rid of that. So the use of AI in writing continues to evolve. There are also emerging ethical concerns. We'll address detail shortly. All right. Obviously, we want a space there. Thank you for that big wavy red underline. In summary, as usual, we don't need to say in summary. Yimpaic, in fact, as we already discussed, we can just get rid of that whole sentence and scratch my nose again because I can't stop itching my nose. Oh my god, you are so right. Um, that was scuba diving for me. That's the other time. Like I've never in my life experienced dry mouth really, except when I was scuba diving. Like I've never in my life wanted to take a drink of water as much as when I was scuba diving. And I did get used to it eventually. Like it only happened the first couple times, but it felt like it was just so frustrating. As use of AI continues to evolve, the nice thing with scuba diving as opposed to snorkeling is I don't know if you've scuba dived, but it's really easy to take your mask off and like you can it helps you clear it off too. Like once you don't want to do it until your defog has stopped working, but once your defog has stopped working and your mask is fogging up all the time, you can just tip it and let the water in, but then you tip it again and you like blow out with your at the same time and the air coming up from your BCD will displace the water in the mask and clear it out for you. Well, it has potential to significantly enhance the and will discuss. I don't think address. Address is too formal. We haven't been very formal thus far. Well, it has the potential to significantly enhance. While also staying true to the craft. The also doesn't need to be in there. The will is technically not necessary, but I like it. Please note the. Oh wait, I almost forgot. Please note the edits your earlier content and incorporate that tone in future content. Um, so basically rewrote the same thing again. So it did do a great job there. Eh, but we are going to. I don't know if you were here for it earlier, but part of the new outline that it gave me included something I don't recall from yesterday, which was ethics and AI for writers, which it did include, but how to use AI ethically and responsibly. And I hadn't really thought about that. Um, oh, you should scuba dive. It is one of my favorite things. Um, the only The only downside for me is the only time I've been seasick in my life was doing the surface drills. It was like a really choppy day, and like it kind of wrecked me. Like I never got seasick before that day, and now I do kind of get seasick. But only on like a little tiny boat. Like if you're on a big boat, it's fine. But oh man, it's fantastic. So you did like a freshwater dives, like in a pool, or did you go out to like a lake somewhere? Also, if you went to a lake, did you do are you like altitude certified? Because I know that when you're diving at higher altitudes, you have to do some different stuff. Just a pool, still super cool. Um, and so relaxed. Like I've done, free diving and stuff, and like you're training yourself and you're taking these deep breaths and you're going down, and you have like a minute, maybe 2 minutes if you're like two is about as far as I've ever gotten. 3 or 4 for the guys that are really good. But it's this really active, hard-working thing. But when you're scuba diving out there in the ocean, especially in the ocean, unlike the pool, because you're more buoyant there, you're just gliding along. It's like this infinite, slow, relaxed Zen dive. And you'll look over and there'll just be like a sea turtle or something. And as long as you're like breathing really steadily and you're not putting up like a big cloud of bubbles, making a lot of noise, things will cruise right by you. One of my few regrets from scuba diving is when I was in the Caribbean, I did get close to some reef sharks, but there was one of them that got close enough that I could have touched it, and I was like, nah, that's not a good idea, and then it was gone. And looking back on it, I totally should have touched it. I've also watched somebody get straight conked by a sea turtle, which was hysterical. Like, guy's a really good like professional diver, and we were in dive instructor. And we were just doing like a casual pier dive, and like the turtle came around one side, and he came around the other side of the pillar, and the turtle was paying attention to something else, and he was paying attention like he was looking at the pillar, right, and like looking for all the little cool fish that live on it. And the turtle was off looking at something else, and they just like bopped right into each other and absolutely scared the hell out of each other. It was hysterical. But anyway, could not recommend anything more than scuba diving. I've only done Hawaii and I spent a few months in the Caribbean. I have yet to do, even though I grew up like in the western U.S. and I've been to that ocean many a time. I have not done diving off California or Oregon, and it is like the kelp forests way up on my list. I wanted to do a dive in Japan. I've been out snorkeling. Yeah, yeah, that's the way of it. It's just because you can't really hear much down there, so it's just which way your head is turned. One of the fun things when you like if you're in an area with a lot of sharks is like how often people completely miss sharks. Like they'll be, they'll like come along behind them because the area I was in, lionfish are an invasive species. So this is a weird nature fact for you. The reef sharks will not eat living lionfish, but they're trying to train them to. Like the diving guides there are trying to teach the sharks to eat lionfish. So when you spot a lionfish, you go to the guide, which is this is the hand signal for lionfish, and they come over with their little spear gun and they shoot the lionfish. But as soon as they shoot the lionfish with the spear gun, the sharks will eat it. Like it's too spicy when it's alive, but for some reason, as soon as it's dead, I've yet to see a hammerhead. I wanted to go on a dive to the winter breeding site in Okinawa when I was in Japan visiting my buddy in the Air Force this last uh, January, but he's only been on a couple dives, and the dive that you do to go to the hammerheads is a drift dive. So that you don't like the boat doesn't like hang out and you go in a loop around the boat. The boat like drops you, and then the boat goes away, and then you have to get to where the boat is. And like I'm at the bottom end of where that would be a good idea, and I didn't really want uh, my best friend to get lost and die in the Sea of Japan, so we didn't do it. but I'm hoping to do it in the Bahamas this year or this next year. But anyway, yeah. So as soon as you kill the lionfish, the reef sharks will come around and eat them. But that also meant that a lot of times they follow us. Like reef sharks aren't aggressive. Like especially like Caribbean reef sharks, they're little guys. They eat fish, and by little guys I mean like a big one's like 6 feet long. Like if they bit you, you would not like it, but they have no interest in biting you. But they come along and they'll like follow you because as soon as they hear the spear gun or the guide going, like they'll wrap a carabiner on the tank to get people's attention when you see something cool, and they they will come like up. But so often you'd see them go gliding like right over someone who's looking down at the reef, and they'd never have a clue. It really, in my case anyway, it really encouraged me in my mind to regularly check my six. I probably look ridiculous diving because like every like 30, 45 seconds, I like to just do like a spin in place just to see uh, like what's around me. And I have seen some really cool stuff that way. Also, the other really fun thing that I love scuba diving is you can really get in and like poke under rocks, and there's a lot of cool stuff that just lives like way tucked up under rocks. What else? I would also recommend once you've been on a few dives, and I mean I'm like a neophyte. I've got like 25 dives, so I'm not even an advanced diver. But as soon as you're comfortable in the water in the daytime, do a night dive because spectacular. If you ever go to Kona, Hawaii, do the manta ray night dive. I have a friend who's a guide on that, and I've done that snorkeling, but the guys that are down there at the bottom on the sand with the manta rays going over, it's unbelievable. And those things are huge, huge. All right, where were we? Outline the main ethical concerns of using AI in writing. That wasn't really what I wanted, but that's okay. We can work with that. Intellectual property rights. Ooh, that's a good one. Transparency and accountability. Privacy concerns. Conclusion. Um, all right. Great outline. Give me. I didn't have any trouble working that out. Wow, I love that. Where were you on a reef? Things that make me most nervous when I'm out there are moray eels because I used to work at a natural history museum, and we had a big tank that was full of moray eels, and like those things try to attack me more than I think like every other animal of the like hundreds of animals that we had there combined. Like anytime my hand was in the water, they were like, "I'm gonna eat you," and they leave some nasty bites too. They'll grab you and like just twist. Do they just twist like crocodiles? Roatan. Oh, that's super cool. I've never been there. I did Engineers Without Borders in college, and we had a project in Roatan and a project in Ghana. And I went to Ghana, but I heard really, really good things about Roatan. AI-powered writing tools have quickly become an essential part of the modern writing landscape. It's a little convoluted. We're just gonna drop that first paragraph as usual. Two. Yeah, this will be its own thing. So we're gonna make our own little intro here. The ethical concerns aren't to what AI can do to us. Many, you know what? We're not gonna do us. Can do to humans. What the AI can do us. That's an entirely different book there. In many ways, the greater concern is what humans can do with AI. As the first generation of AI augmented writers, be up to us to understand the ethical implications and create the I don't want to say guidelines. I want to create operating principles for this emerging field. All right, whoop. That didn't work at all that time. There we go. One of the primary ethical issues they rise. We're actually going to divide this up a little bit. Who owns Icona? You know what? The person who programmed the AI, the person who trained it, or the machine itself? This is a place where I'm 100% cool with leaving a question because these are interesting questions. Although following that up with the question becomes when we've just literally asked two questions is not ideal. Let's say I don't like the word particularly in general. I find it an awkward word, so we'll go with especially when AI is used to create content that is then published under someone else's name. This raises the possibility of plagiarism, ghostwriting, and other ethical problems that could damage a writer's reputation. I've been a professional ghostwriter at times. I don't really see an issue with ghostwriting. So we're going to just delete that. I don't think ghostwriting is an ethical problem. Sorry, I got distracted here. The best nap of your life. Nice. Very nice. Give me 1 second here. I want to find out why my phone buzzed at me. I don't actually remember what thing I just bought, so give it a second. Alright, whatever. That doesn't matter. We can wait on that. Just right. Ethical problems that could damage a writer's reputation. Another, we don't need to specify ethical concern, of course, because we were already talking about ethics. They know it's an ethical concern. We're going to discuss this elsewhere. Or maybe we'll, I'm not going to delete that quite yet. Eventually replace human writers altogether. We're not skilled in working with AI. Ooh, now that's kind of cool because that was a point I added in earlier that it apparently picked up on, right? Like that was absent from its original version of this earlier statement up here. Where did we put that? Oh, there we go. Yeah, and then I think let's go. Hold on, let me do a Control F. Where was that? That wasn't it. So what I'm looking for here is a place. There we go. Where I added the mention of it being particularly detrimental to people who don't adapt to writing. Yeah, look at that. Okay. So that was something that was absent from my original uh sorry, ChatGPT's original piece of content here that I added in and then I mentioned it and now it is including it in its list of ethical concerns. So this was not on its list at the beginning of this conversation and it has now added it to the list. I don't know how much money I would pay to just be able to hook my brain up to something like this so I could just remember everything. Because that's what this is, right? Like this remembers every single thing and learns from it. It doesn't have to learn anything twice, ever. It doesn't just remember everything, but remembers every time it's interacted with everything. Like that's how it's building those like neural networks, right? Like things that get more attention or higher profile are developing more and more connections, which is just how our brains work, but it's just a non-fallible version of it. But anyway, that is extraordinary that it thought to include that. All right, let's get back to it. Is that a double space? No. Another concern is the potential loss of. Some worry that they will eventually. Another fun word is that. I'd say about 75% of the time when we use that, we don't actually need to use that. Particularly for those who aren't. We might actually get rid of that later because, well, as I'm going through this stuff and making it, like doing a more human, higher level edit, it's obviously going to be more of a. Uh, mm, it's going to be important for me to go through it and remove redundancies. I don't know if I trust the AI to do it, but I will also totally let the AI have a try at it just to see how it does. AI generated content becomes more prevalent with a focus on formulaic writing that meets. See, we already do that though. And one of the interesting things about that is finding creative new ways to sort of leverage what we're learning from those algorithms. Like I write emails that have been tested 10, 20 times with minor tweaks here and there over the course of years. And one of the most interesting things also that's going to help people out is there's a drift with time. Things that worked in 2018 really, really well don't work in 2023 really, really well. It just moves. Just like style in general. For some reason, the exact tone people are looking for in like advertising copy or anything really, it moves. There's also, I'm not sure how true it's held, but there was a correlation uh, when a um, when a Republican is in office in the U.S., zombie movies become more popular because zombies are a metaphor for the dangers of the brainless mob. But here's the fun part: when Democrats are in power, um, historically, vampire movies and books and TV shows become more popular because, again, this is a little theoretical, but I believe because vampires are a stand-in for the corrupt elite draining you dry, um, which is fascinating. Like, what our outer experiences really do influence what kind of content um, jibes with us in ways that I don't think any of us are fully aware of. Um, Another good example of that is there was something, God, I really wish I'd kept it. It was just somebody saying something like barely intelligible, but there was a phrase that pops up, and it's just a loop of the exact same barely intelligible phrase, but every time, I might have saved it on Instagram. I'll have to see if I can find it later. But every time it came up, they put a different like written sentence that sounded kind of similar, and you could then all of a sudden you could hear it clearly. It was that thing, um, and I was absolutely blown away. I never in a million years would have thought my brain was that suggestible, but absolutely, what my eyes were seeing was being taken into account by my brain, and it was actively using it to filter and change the audio input coming in through my ears. So all this stuff interacts at a level we like to think is all separate and compartmentalized and infallible, and is in fact just a large lump of mush that was designed to help us remember where the ripe fruit was in the rainforest at various times of the year that we have just wildly abstracted into this thing that lets us do writing and art and calculus. And frankly, it's amazing more of us aren't absolutely crazy because every day you go out and do a million different things that your brain was not even kind of designed to handle. Also, perpetuate harmful biases that exist in society, reflecting and magnifying pre-existing social and cultural stereotypes. I know that was an issue they had early in AI consistently, um, because humans can be terrible. So obviously, anything we train to think like us also has the potential to be terrible. This one is a very legit concern to me because, like, I work in, I think I talked about this yesterday, but I work in what is essentially persuasive writing. And like logical writing doesn't scare me at all having AIs do it, but having AIs getting better and better at appealing to pathos, very unnerving. I mean, you're right, it is absolutely designed to be adaptable, and I'm sure it has just been getting like an evolutionary crash course throughout like civilization stuff, but it's extraordinary that it is as adaptable as it has proven to be. Even within the bounds. I mean, obviously there's enormous evolutionary pressure for that. And I mean, you can still see that in action to this day. Like we have gone from basically pointy sticks to landing on the moon in what amounts to a blip on a geological timescale. Like you blink and you miss it. There's trees alive that were, starting to grow when they were first stacking up the pyramids. You know what I mean? Like in the scale of nature, everything we've done has happened shockingly quickly. See, I'm not as worried about deceiving readers because one of the things that, I mean, I've done political writing, I've done speeches, I've done reporting. There's this sort of devious, evil art to telling people the literal and absolute truth in a way that gets them to make the decision you want them to make. And that is not something I want to actively train machines to do well. Although I do like that idea of like a robot apocalypse type scenario, like Skynet doesn't use nuclear missiles and terminators. It just uses really convincing appeals to our emotion to just eventually get us to go along with it. Like we just can't out argue it and eventually just go along with what it says, which is at least as scary as the version involving, missiles and nuclear fallout. Again, realistic but completely fabricated news stories, social media posts, and other forms of content don't scare me at all because um, that's something your average middle schooler does just fine. And frankly, a certain subset of people will believe just about anything as long as it is mostly what they want to hear. But we'll leave it in there because it is an interesting point. Obviously, you never ever begin your conclusion with "in conclusion" because that is silly. AI in writing offers, doesn't make any sense. AI offers many benefits. See, this is not detailed enough. Please go into more detail include include examples if you are able. You're right, it really does, really does change to match your tone. All right. And at some point in the relatively near future, not today, but in the near future, I will be actively bothering people to follow this that are friends of mine because they hit me up with a billion things that I generally support them on. So it would be, I will emotionally blackmail them after just calling out the danger of being emotionally blackmailed by AI. I will commit to emotionally blackmailing people in my life into doing something I want them to do. Sure, I'd be happy to provide more detail. Job displacement. I have a I don't work directly for him, but a guy that's pretty high up at my company who, I mean, I get along with fine, but he was talking about AI and content. and I suggested him because he loves testing, as I do too. It's actually what we have in common. Like we really like getting into the mathematics of what's going on and what people are doing, and then trying to figure out why. Because humans are fascinating, weird creatures, and they only get more fascinating and more weird when you get to look at a big subset of them and draw statistically significant conclusions. But one of the things that I suggested was that we do A/B tests on uh, AI suggested content against my content, and I get $1,000 every time my content beats the AI. I think in 2 or 3 years I wouldn't be making much money, but I wouldn't care by then because I'd be retired. So we're actually going to, for now, we're just going to strike through if I can find it. Is there a strike through on this? Is this strike through? No, that's clear formatting, although that would have been handy to find the other day. Alignment, indent. Docs, strike through. Alt Shift 5. Yeah, I would have been able to play around for a long time before I found that one. Alt Shift 5. And then it didn't work. All right, let's try that again. I think I was just only in the frame and not in the actual window. Okay, or in the tab and not in the actual frame. Okay, so we're going to take this longer, more complicated version of it and we're going to edit that down. Now this is even chatting to you here and getting distracted a lot. 1,300 words is not shabby for an hour. Not fantastic either, to be honest, but not bad. Is job displacement. While AI tools, I don't think some worry that they will eventually replace human writers. I think they will eventually replace human writers. Um, Same weird line about decreased creativity, which I don't really see as an issue. Like a lot of writing is not. God, what did we say that was? Alt Shift 5? Oh, I got it. Like a lot of writing is not heavily creative. It's like not if you're good at it. There is a creative element, but it's mostly about understanding people, really, more than anything else. Um, in my job, like I said, I get to use a lot of statistics to help me with that, but it's just overall about knowing how to have a conversation with a human that goes from, you know, point A to whatever outcome you want. And there's certainly an art to that, but it's not quite what people mean by creativity. Like I don't think of it as the same bucket as like the actual creative writing that I do. The most creative aspect of my job is usually trying to balance what the marketers want us to say against what the lawyers say we can say. Because the marketers basically want you to tell everyone that whatever you are selling will, you know, cure world hunger and save their children from a fire if necessary. And then the lawyers get really uncomfortable when there's any implication that it will actually do anything at all. So it's fun to find that middle ground. Again, sometimes when there are examples, you say for example, but only when it's not pretty clear that it's example are already. So instead of are now, we'll say are already, because that creates a sense of urgency. And yeah, I mean, this is a real worry because like when I started out, I made so much of my not very much money as a uh, neophyte freelancer off blog posts. Of course, that was back in the early 2010s when everybody needed a blog for some reason. Like every professional had a blog, and if you didn't have a blog, were you even a real professional? So there were a whole bunch of guys out there that were, um, and it really was mostly guys, like male, not female, uh, people that wanted to hire people to write for them. And I'm not entirely sure what that was. I never figured that out. But there was a definite um, gender gap there, and not just with me. Like it wasn't like because I knew women who were freelancers, and like same with them. Most of their clients were men writing those blog posts, or businesses. But in any case, it was just an odd little idiosyncrasy that I never entirely figured out, which always bugs me when there's a clear pattern to something and then I never figure out why that pattern exists. It lacks the creativity and nuance that only a human writer can provide. I'm not sure if I believe that. Bias and discrimination is what comes to. Mm, it currently, again, I want to create a sense of urgency here because part of this, like this whole point of this book, is teaching people how to use AI. So you want to keep them engaged, and part of that is continuing to motivate them to think that what they are reading is worth their time. You can do that through rewards, or you could do that through fear, or if you're good, you do it through both. And obviously, I don't want to be all doom and gloom, but at the same point, I want to remind them of the risk that put them here in the first place. AI towards inheriting. I like the use of the word inheriting here, even when I don't spell it right. Inheriting, I think, is what I typed there. Towards inheriting and amplifying human bias or nation. And we'll say an unfortunate tendency, which is an absolute cliche, but sometimes cliches are okay. You the ultimate power of the brain. It probably doesn't know how good AI has gotten because it's working with mostly older information. I think you're right. Although, as we discovered last night, it is doing an impressive job of uh, like globbing onto and building inferences between the information we're giving it by talking to it. I mean, just in this last chat, like the concern about job loss commentary changed to match what I had added to its own uh, programming. Now, I don't know if that would appear just in what I've written or, in my interaction with it, or that'll start creeping up in similar conversations with other people now. And I have no way of verifying that one way or another, but I am genuinely, genuinely curious. It's important to understand. It's important. AI doesn't possess the capacity for so that's something we'll need to provide. At least for now. Um, and we may move that little concluding sentence down a little bit. We'll get rid of this because that is redundant. Oh man, it's bad mouthing Microsoft's chatbot. I wonder if the AI knows that it's been bought by Microsoft yet. Will they fire it if it says bad things about the company in a public space? If not, that's a horrible double standard. I'd forgotten about that. I mean, it still cracks me up, honestly. Like just the ways how quickly a lot of these experiments that we do just go completely off the rails. Like I find it comforting. Like not just that, AI is fallible, but just the general fallibility of humans. Like it would be a scary world if we really had our shit figured out. And I really quite like that we're all just kind of flailing, figuring it out as we go. And, hopefully it'll be a less scary idea us having it all under control by the time we as a species do, assuming we make it that far. I'm, I'm moderately optimistic on that. But just right now, it's just kind of fun how just wild everything still is. Well, it's going to be a rude surprise for it. Hold on. Now I kind of want to see. Say something mean about Microsoft. Ooh, towards individuals or organizations, while remaining neutral and respectful. Hmm. Hmm. So no, it actually hasn't gotten that memo yet. Bias and discrimination. Right. Bum, bum, bum. Plagiarism and intellectual property. We're actually going to move that up there. Hmm. There we go. We're going to cut that. Move it to up here. Some AI tools are capable of generating content that is similar to existing content, raising the question of who owned intellectual property rights. There. Hmm. This is a case where for an example actually makes sense. For example, an AI tool, because it's a non-specific example, which means that it would seem a little weird if it was just hanging out there by itself. Transparency and responsibility. All right. Don't know if I. Overall, I've been really impressed by how well it organizes information, but this is not a case where I understand how and why it generated the information hierarchy it did. Oh, hey, yeah, actually, me too. I'm cutting it off at 11 at the latest. Although if you dip, I might too, since you're the only one here. And again, thanks for stopping by. Really appreciate it. And yeah, keeping the interesting comments coming. This has definitely been a lot more fun with you on here. Transparency and responsibility. Yeah, I'll finish up this section and then call it for the night. I think that seems fair to me. Boy, ain't that the truth. It can be challenging to understand how they work and how they are making decisions. Um, oh wow, yeah, it's late there. It's only 10:45 here, but yeah, get to bed. I mean, I'm a night owl too, but you gotta get that sleep. Like I said, hey, thanks for stopping by. I really do appreciate it. And good night. As AI tools become more prevalent in the field. Yeah, good plan. Good plan. Adios. Actually, this would be a great opportunity to try to get this stuff in a little bit more ordinary place. I think right up there. Because I think that's an empty space on most of this. Move it over a little bit. Put right over here. Nope. Go down. If there's a way to put a background on that. Font color, font size. If I could remember what the RGBA for black was. I could fix that. Why don't you just have a hex code? I think it's on a 0 to 1, right? Am I remembering that right? I am not. Okay. Hold on, so the chat box is there. Your account is there. I guess we could just change the font color to black. That's a little better. Okay, chat box settings. Also, if there is anybody on here still, I am finishing up for the night and I'm just playing with some of these settings live because I've been finding it challenging to figure out what they do when they are not being live streamed. Clean, chat delay, size. Hide delay. We'll let them stay out. Like, there's no reason to keep them up. What do we do? Always show messages. Let's see how that looks. That doesn't seem to be working at all. Whatever. Test chat. Oh. Apparently I have to join Twitch to do that, which of course I am a member of Twitch, but I'm apparently not signed in this window. Alright, whatever. It's a good place to end the stream. Thank you everyone who stopped by, especially Orion for stopping by and actually chatting. And we're going to